Hello there, everyone. Today we're going to talk about obviously the new DLC here, or add-on. I don't really want to necessarily call it DLC, you don't have to pay for it. So I'm going to call it like a new add-on, a new expansion. The Butcher Circus. So it is obviously a 4-on-4 arena, and it is very different to the base game. They definitely changed up people's skills. They changed up new trinkets. There's nothing at all campaign related. If you were worried it was going to be campaign related, I don't think it was going to be the whole time. So here we go. Here's your absolute clarification that it is not campaign related. I'm going to show you two fights. I'm also going to just give my eyes in general. And the first idea I'm going to go about what I actually like. I like the fact they did change some stuff up. Part of me would be curious if they actually kept all the same skills, but I think a couple of heroes are very broken, such as the Plague Doctor, and we'll talk about the Plague Doctor in here as well. Because Blinding Gas could have technically stunned two heroes at one time. There's probably a slew of other abilities that are really broken, like Barbaric Yawp. You could Barbaric Yawp and Plague Doctor, which would really have sucked. However, the other thing they got rid of as well is general speed. You actually just select everyone, which can actually make other characters maybe with traditional low speed or needed setup now non-RNG related, which is pretty cool. So now you can actually fight in a much more strategized area, but the RNG of speed was really nice. So I actually do like that change. I could go either way. I think speed would be cool, but also having no speed is just fine with me. Right now, I don't know how balanced it is. A couple of characters just feel extremely underwhelming right now, and that would be the Crusader. The Hellion you're going to see in this video just doesn't do a lot. The Jester, I had someone use the Jester effectively against me once, but I don't really overall right now feel the Jester is too terribly strong. I haven't played everybody. I've only seen one Grave Robber. People don't really seem to be gravitating towards that. Or the Leper, because it seems like really one big shot hit enemies is currently the way not to go in this, because once you get to Death's Door, it's not like an HP depletion. It's when you get the Death's Door that you could just give someone 5 HP, kind of like in a regular dungeon, but it's really annoying because you can do 40 damage and then they get 5 HP, so that excess damage doesn't necessarily clear someone right away. It can put an opponent in a pinch situation for sure, I'm not going to deny that. Mark builds are actually very popular right now in the arena because they can do so much damage, but there's a lot of other cool stuff that happens with Marks. And if you have a couple people who function on Marks, you can repeatedly smash them at Death's Door as well. I believe the Bounty Hunter has Mark for Death, which actually lowers the death blow resistance, which we'll talk about. So those are the things I like. I would have preferred, and this is where I start getting to a little picky, it's not that I dislike it, it's just these are things that I think possibly in the long run may hurt the longevity of the arena. I don't like the fact you pre-select your party composition and then you just fly in. I really would have loved to seen a very quick draft. About 2 minutes, you go in, you get like 20 seconds to pick your characters, and you can maybe even like pre-trinket them up. If they could have found a way to program that not everyone, you could put a trinket on everybody, and then if two heroes conflict, you can quickly swap out a trinket or something. I don't know, something like that. Because I really don't like the fact that you have to go into pre-setup. And the reason why I don't like that is you either try to build an all-around party composition, which may exist eventually. I've only played probably about 10 to 15 matches, and you'll see in here after this fight, I'm only apprentice level 3, which is like 5-6 wins. Like, I don't have a lot of wins, I don't have a lot of matches. So there may be a party composition out there that is just really good. But that brings me to my second point, is we might eventually get down to essentially 2 party compositions, and they're not going to look exactly the same, but you might have one party composition that is just really overpowered, and then you might have one party composition or a variation of that counters, and this guy just quit right here, sorry, just watching the screen. So what I'm going to say is, his party, the Plague Doctor, is really good. Honestly, the Plague Doctor is really good. It's just he happened to run into me where I have pools and a stun. It just ruins the Plague Doctor. If that Plague Doctor would have been somebody else, this fight would have looked dramatically different. And I got lucky, I didn't strategize on pulling the Plague Doctor forward before this fight. Obviously, when I walked in and I saw a Plague Doctor, I was like, oh, let me pull this Plague Doctor to the front row all the time so she can't use her, and then obviously putting the Hellion in her weaker abilities. So my second fight's coming up now, but we'll talk about that later. So that guy, that strategy could have worked against this current party you're going to see on the screen. I don't know. But it could have worked very well. So it's not necessarily saying that his party composition was bad. It just necessarily wasn't good against my party, and there was nothing he could really do about that, and he knew that, and that's why he left so early. So that has me a little worried that depending on what you walk in with, right from the get-go in the first couple of abilities, you're just like, ah, frick, man, like I'm so done. An example I don't think I was recording is I walked in with a heavy AoE strat. I mean, it was Shield Breaker, it was Anticorium. Let me think here. It was the Abomination and also the Houndmaster. Everyone strikes AoE. Well, the dude brought in a Man-at-Arms, an Abomination, and a Highwayman, I believe. Activated riposte on all of them, so I was just going to pretty much destroy myself, and then the individual skills I had weren't necessarily great against riposte. So in that situation, once again, I've used a similar party composition before, and I have shredded people with it, but against a triple riposte where I hit all 3 riposte each time, after 2 to 3 attacks of me just chancing dodges, I just surrendered because I was like, well, I'm just going to kill myself or expand this out for another 8 minutes knowing I'm going to lose, because he had a Vestal as well, which could heal AoE. And once again, that's another thing, which healer you pick. Sometimes a spread AoE strat is amazing because there's no real good healer. For instance, this fight, there's a Vestal. If that was an occultist, I could have maybe gotten away with a little bit more of a spread AoE strategy. Not that I really necessarily, the Houndmaster does a lot of that. But my point is, if you go with the spread AoE, it can eventually whittle away, but obviously Vestals can help reduce that. So that's something I'm thinking about right now, talking about strong characters and strong compositions. In the video, I don't think actually I just showed any Anticoriums. Anticoriums are pretty popular right now. I think they'll fade off as people start learning how to counter them, maybe pull them forward consecutively like that, or they have very low stun resist, they're going to, Abomination up, or even Vestal them up. So I think Anticoriums will fall off. For the Abomination though, I don't think they're necessarily going to fall off very fast. They have good stealth heals, you can transform them, they can also have riposte on their bio, and they are one of the few individuals who can actually stun. They added a new thing called Daze, which allows you to act last on your team, which can be useful because the enemy relies on a setup. You can make that person go last, and you can try to kite around them and stuff like that. So Daze can be useful, but I'd rather just a stun because it does almost the same thing, but obviously doesn't allow them to take a turn, which is just so much better rather than the person still going. The Man-at-Arms is also a very strong pick right now. As you can see here, I have him in one video. It is the fight I lose, but it's not necessarily any fault to his. I just couldn't really get an occultist to do any good heals and got immediately killed in death blow resistance, which I'm going to talk about next here. The death blow resistance at 75 I think is a little too high to start off. I think it really allows for some real stupid kind of things to go on. I understand each time you hit somebody they lose 15% resistance. However, with how easy it is to get off death's doors, or even allow, this is another weird thing I don't like, DOTs are great to get people down, but you cannot die to a DOT, and I think that's an error in the speed of the game. I don't need the DOT to necessarily tick once for Blight and tick once for Bleed. I think that would be a little too strong. However, I think one DOT tick with no HP should count as a death blow check. If they did that, I'd maybe be okay with 75%. If they wanted to keep it where you need a physical, hard-hitting, damaging ability, I would honestly love to see them push it down to maybe 60 or even 55%. I'd really love to see maybe a hit and a half less, because it's friggin' hard to get people down to death's door and then follow up with an attack before they heal sometimes. And especially with me only having a 25% chance to kill that Vestal if my Houndmaster wasn't stunned, that's not a lot. You're relying on 25%, but without it, maybe at 60%, I was like, all right, two-fifths of a chance here. It's not the worst, it's not the best. Now, thankfully, it does stay away. However, it does just feel a little too drawn out sometimes, especially if you have someone like a Vestal where they can just pop them right back off. Or if you have the Anticorium, once again, why she's so popular, she has a restoration ability. You can give someone 3 HP, it's not a lot, but it's all they need to get off death's door, and you have to keep devoting 3 or 4, even 5 attacks to potentially kill one individual. So even though you get someone on death's door, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be right on the edge of winning, which is why I think the Bounty Hunter and possibly even the Jester here, with the increase in death blow stab killing ability, might be actually good. So I'm sure people will find a way to quickly reduce the death blow resistance while still keeping a decent amount of damage or keeping the party in check. However, right now it feels a little tedious at the moment, really trying to get someone down, because you got 14 to 16 bleed or blight, whatever, ticking on somebody. They got 0 HP and they just let it tick every turn. I mean, I have taken advantage of this, and I actually won a 1v2 with an Abomination because he had 10 DOT on him, but he wouldn't die, and then I would just resolution keeping him alive, and then I would beast bile in every other round, and the individual kind of got screwed because I got 1 death blow resistance, and then I could never allow the DOTs to tick me out and stuff like that. So that individual kind of got screwed by that mechanic. However, they probably should have been able to finish me, and that's a different story. Overall, it's tough to say which compositions are going to be definitely good right now. I think some are definitely shining through, such as I said, mana arm strategies. Plague Doctor I'm not so sure about, pretty easily kited by via pools and also stunning abilities. Anticorium's good, Abomination's good. Honestly, I think the Bounty Hunter's pretty good. The Occultist is hit or miss for me because he's got the pool, but he's also got the mark, but obviously those heals, you rely on heals. I think there was a juicy 2 in here, which ultimately led to his death, but then you get like 34 because having a trinket that gives plus 35% healing capabilities. You get a 34 where even like a crit's like 40 on somebody. The fight gets turned back on its head because someone's devoted 3 to 4 attacks to that individual. Next thing you know, full HP, all of your last turn was essentially useless, and now you get turned on. And that's okay, it's part of the game, it's part of the RNG. It's just that's why it's very tough to field parties, because that party could have worked in that fight, but you don't really know till you get there. And also, you're going to be fighting so many party compositions, how people fight. I think it's going to take a lot of days and a couple of tweaks to the meta to really find out who's going to shine in this and who's not. Right now, I'm having success with some stress AoE strategies, because the reason why AoE is pretty good with the stress is because obviously it ticks up everyone at the same time, and if you bring down everyone in terms of HP around the same time, especially if someone has a cultist, they have to start choosing who you healed, and obviously you go after the person they don't. So there is a strategy on it. It's just going to take a little bit of time finding that proper balance between going in on all stress or just all damage, because getting someone to an affliction can make them pass their turn and all that stuff. So there is some good stuff with afflictions. However, it's still up in the air, as I said. Finding the damage as well. I don't think lepers are good if they get like a crit right off the back and knock someone down to 0 HP, but I think lepers are a little too susceptible to people getting pushed forward or possibly getting knocked back. So I don't think lepers are ever going to be necessarily a really strong choice. I don't think I've lost to a leper yet, or really used one well or effectively. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to also possibly do a Discord. I'm going to put in a community chat thing here. I know it's right at the end of the video. But thanks, stick around, and keep posted. I'll be doing a couple of videos this weekend.